I saw this headline, "The Great GOP Migration Has Begun." And then when I saw that it was written by Jeff Flake, he's a former U.S. Senator and Representative from Arizona and U.S. Ambassador to Turkey from 22 to 24, I had to read it, and it first of all, grabbed my attention. Second of all, I agree with it. But let me just read you the first paragraph. In politics, migrations rarely happen all at once. They start quietly, one or two members of a herd moving towards safer ground while the rest pretend not to notice. But once the wind really changes, the movement becomes unmistakable. I believe that a migration has begun within the Republican Party. And I have Ambassador Flake on the line. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I am wondering if you can just tell our listeners why you think a GOP migration has begun and what that might mean.
Well, every president, Republican or Democrat, who's elected exaggerates his mandate and overreaches, and so that's why you almost every time see a pendulum swing in the midterms when the party out of power, if they are out of power in the chambers, the House and the Senate, they usually gain ground. And so that's kind of, it happens as a matter of course, but I think you're going to see it even exaggerated now because there has been such overreach by this administration. And so I think what you're going to see is Republicans who are more in the line of traditional Republicans, limited government, economic freedom, free trade, strong American leadership abroad, kind of reasserting themselves because President Trump will not be on the ballot again. And when he's not on the ballot, things change.
So one of the people that has been surprising me the most, I think, is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has become really, really outspoken against President Trump on several issues. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's wasn't on my bingo card, but and I'm not sure it will last. She may be back in the fold soon. But what that does that's significant is it gives others license to do the same. And every defection, even if it's brief, allows others to say, hey, I'm going to test the waters here because I am not sure that, strict adherence to where the president is or parroting his talking points is going to do me all that well. And, the election, on Tuesday, there's just no way to spin that in a positive way for Republicans. And so I think you're going to see big movement coming up.
So one of the things that you talk about in your piece in the Washington Post is about tariffs. And there has been, I think there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of court cases. But it seems like there may be some senators who are starting to really openly say, yeah, these are taxes.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they feel. And believe me, when you get to the U.S. Senate, that's the most exclusive club in the world. It's tough to get there. And to get there and then basically just give away your voting card to the president is just, members of Congress, members of the Senate don't like that. Now, President Trump has been able to control just about any Republican primary he wants to, and so there's a big incentive to stick with him. But once he's not on the ballot anymore, and once he's losing, power, then people are going to go where they're more comfortable. And Republicans, gratefully, are far more comfortable being a free trade party. Looking at prosperity here and abroad is what we want, and that doesn't happen with protectionism. So that's what's been just frustrating to watch is Republicans look like 1970s Democrats when it comes to trade and protectionism. But they'd like to get back to where traditional Republicans are, and I think you'll see that now.
So what will that look like? I mean, I'm really seeing it with the pushback against President Trump saying just dump the filibuster. I think I've seen there's 15 outspoken Republicans saying absolutely not.
Yeah, no, that's great to see. I wish, that, John Thune would say instead of the votes just aren't there, say, no, that's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. But we'll take what we can get. And the votes aren't there, gratefully, because you have, senators who realize that the Senate as an institution is too important to jeopardize some of this just for one person who's not going to be on the ballot again. And so I'm happy to see that. And you'll see it manifested in other ways. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a vote where several Republicans defected and voted with the Democrats to basically nullify some of the tariffs on Brazil. Now, that won't pass the House, and so it's a bit of a show vote, but it's important that many Republicans defected, and you'll see more of that coming up.
So at the end of this migration, what does America look like in 26 and 28?
Yeah, I'm not pretending the Republican Party will be the same as it was 10, 20 years ago. I think there are some changes that will endure, but I do think that the Republican Party will be more like its old self. That, as I said, at the end of this migration, they'll find themselves, Republicans, in a new old place and recognize it, to say, hey, we are the party again of fiscal discipline and limited government and free trade. So I think you're going to see a party that looks much more like the party we're used to know. And that's a good thing. It's good for the country because, as I've said many times, anger and grievance are not a governing philosophy. And populism kind of runs its course. You have to govern. And this, what we're seeing now, in the fourth week of a government shutdown, is not a governing philosophy.
Right. And one last quick question for you. How does the GOP then win back disaffected voters?
Well, I think you're seeing that if there are members of the GOP trying to do that by saying, hey, we're going to get back to a message of fiscal discipline. We're going to nullify some of these tariffs or not use them in the way. Tariffs have a point and have a place if you're going to go after China, for example, for unfair trade practices there. But if you're going to do that, then you can't tariff the rest of the world. You need the rest of the world with you. And so I think you're going to see Republicans do that, and that will lower prices. It will make items more affordable. And so some of the kitchen table issues that are important to all voters, Republicans can speak to that again, but they can't speak to it by acting like the Democrats did, frankly, in the 24 cycle. Just ignoring inflation and everything else. People feel, the economy. And no matter what politicians try to tell them, and Republicans have been trying to tell them, no, you're doing fine. Inflation is in check. Don't worry about it. Voters just aren't believing it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. We've been speaking with former Ambassador Jeff Flake, who is also Senator and Representative from Arizona.